Do you find yourself waking up once, twice, maybe even 3 times a night just to pee? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. But here's the catch: what you think is just part of aging could be the earliest sign of something more serious: prostate enlargement. And this isn't rare. In fact, 1 in 2 men over 60 silently develop it without realizing until the sleepless nights, weaker stream, or even intimacy problems begin to take over. But the good news: you can take back control without surgery or pills. In today's video, we'll uncover what's really driving this issue and the powerful natural strategies to prevent it starting today. If you've ever asked, is this normal, drop a 1 in the comments so I know you're not just scrolling, you're here for answers. Like, subscribe, and let's reclaim your nights and your confidence. And feel free to share your age, your year of birth, or where you're watching from. We love hearing your story and bringing you health content that speaks directly to your life. You might be thinking, isn't this just aging? But here's a question worth asking. Why do you actually pee more often as you get older? Most people assume it's just a weaker bladder. But in reality, the real issue often starts just below it, inside a small but powerful gland called the prostate. The prostate is a walnut-sized organ sitting right beneath your bladder and surrounding the urethra, the very tube your urine flows through. Its job to produce a fluid that helps nourish and transport sperm. It's silent and stable when you're younger. But around your 40s and beyond, this quiet gland begins to grow slowly, steadily, and in most cases, without you feeling a thing at first. So what exactly causes it to grow? It all starts with testosterone, the male hormone you've heard plenty about. When testosterone reaches the prostate, it doesn't just sit there. It gets converted by an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase into something called DHT, dihydrotestosterone. And here's the twist: DHT is much more potent than testosterone. It binds strongly to androgen receptors in the prostate, telling those cells it's time to multiply. Over time, as you age, your total testosterone may decline, but that doesn't mean your prostate stops getting the signal to grow. Why? Because the enzyme and receptors inside the gland still keep converting and responding to even small amounts of testosterone. That's why, even with lower testosterone, the prostate continues expanding, pressing against the urethra, slowing down your stream, making it harder to empty your bladder completely, and forcing you out of bed in the middle of the night. This explains the classic signs: weak stream, frequent trips to the bathroom, feeling like you haven't fully emptied, and yes, even sexual performance issues. That's not a coincidence. Now, there's another big misunderstanding we need to clear up. Enlarged prostate doesn't mean prostate cancer. Benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH, is a non-cancerous overgrowth of normal prostate cells. It doesn't spread like cancer, but it does take over your life. On the flip side, prostate cancer is caused by abnormal cells with the potential to grow uncontrollably and metastasize. The two are different, but both involve the same gland, which means symptoms can sometimes overlap or confuse even doctors if not evaluated properly. And here's the most alarming part. A Harvard study published in 2016 revealed that 72% of men over the age of 60 already show signs of BPH but have no idea, until the symptoms become disruptive enough to require medications or even surgery. Let that sink in. Nearly 3 out of 4 men are walking around with a condition that's slowly changing the way they pee, sleep, perform, and feel without realizing it. And it doesn't happen overnight. It builds year after year, often silently. From what you eat, to how you move, to the stress you carry. This condition is shaped by the small decisions you make every single day. Which brings us to the real question: what are the everyday triggers that quietly feed this condition, and how do we stop them before it's too late? That's exactly what we'll unpack next. So now we know what causes the prostate to grow, but what's feeding that growth every single day without you realizing it? Let's dive into the 5 real-life drivers that quietly push your prostate to expand, and most of them are hiding in plain sight. 1. Metabolic syndrome, the silent foundation of prostate growth. If you've got a growing waistline, borderline blood sugar, or rising cholesterol, listen up. Metabolic syndrome is a cluster of conditions: belly fat, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and abnormal cholesterol that dramatically increase your risk of BPH. Why? Because insulin resistance, common in metabolic syndrome, triggers a spike in IGF-1 and other growth factors, which directly stimulate your prostate cells to multiply. Not only that, but visceral fat. The deep belly fat releases inflammatory chemicals that silently damage tissues and signal even more cell growth. And here's a scary truth: a waist over 40 inches, 110 centimeters, isn't just a sign of weight gain. It's a red flag for both BPH and erectile dysfunction. According to the American Urological Association, 2021, men with type 2 diabetes have a 125% higher risk of developing BPH than those without it. That belly isn't just extra weight, it's quietly reshaping your prostate from the inside out. 2. Chronic inflammation and the prostate microbiome, the hidden battle. You can't feel one of the most dangerous contributors to prostate growth is something you don't see, and don't feel low-grade chronic inflammation. This kind of inflammation activates your immune cells, especially T cells, which release cytokines like IL-6, IL-8, and TGF-B. These molecules trigger tissue remodeling and abnormal cell growth. And where does this inflammation come from? Sometimes from silent urinary tract infections, sometimes from urine refluxing into the prostate ducts, other times from an imbalanced microbial ecosystem living inside the prostate itself, a disturbed prostate microbiome. But here's the kicker: there's often no fever, no burning, no pain, just a gradual remodeling of the prostate structure, slow and relentless. The more tissue gets inflamed, the more new tissue grows to replace it. That's how you end up with an oversized inflamed gland that can no longer function properly. And unless you're getting a biopsy or advanced scans, you won't even know it's happening until the symptoms hit hard. 3. Physical inactivity, the overlooked aggravator. How much do you move in a day? Most men underestimate how critical physical movement is, not just for heart health or muscle mass, but for prostate health. Sitting for hours, barely walking and skipping, regular movement slows down blood flow in the pelvic region. This leads to venous congestion, reduced oxygen delivery, and you guessed it, increased oxidative stress in the prostate. That stress damages tissue, and your body responds by trying to rebuild via more cell growth. Sound familiar? It gets worse. Inactivity also contributes to insulin resistance and lower natural testosterone, compounding your risk. But here's the encouraging news: the fix is simple. The Massachusetts Male Aging Study found that just 2 hours of walking per week reduced BPH risk by 27%. That's less than 20 minutes a day, but most men over 50 don't maintain it consistently. This is the easiest lever you can pull, and the most ignored. 4. Western-style diet, the daily fuel for prostate enlargement. Let's take a hard look at the modern diet: red meat, fried foods, saturated fats, and not nearly enough vegetables or antioxidant-rich fruits. Sound familiar? This eating pattern promotes visceral fat, ramps up systemic inflammation, and increases IGF-1 levels, all of which drive prostate cell growth. And at the same time, it deprives your body of critical protective compounds like lycopene and flavonoids found in colorful produce. According to the Prostate Cancer Prevention Trial, men who ate vegetables less than once per day had a 38% higher risk of BPH than those who ate them 4 times a day. Let that sink in. What you put in your mouth each day is either inflaming or protecting your prostate. Aging is out of your hands, but what's on your plate, that's entirely within your control. 5. Common over-the-counter medications, the unseen catalysts. Think the problem's only about food and exercise. Think again. Think certain everyday medications, ones you might not think twice about, can actually make urinary symptoms worse, especially if your prostate's already enlarged. These include antihistamines for allergies, decongestants with pseudoephedrine for colds, tricyclic antidepressants, older generation mood stabilizers. These drugs reduce bladder muscle activity and tighten the smooth muscles around the urethra, making it harder to push urine through an already narrowed channel. The problem isn't the medication itself, it's the chronic unsupervised use in men over 50 who are already at risk. So if you're having trouble urinating and popping cold medicine or allergy pills regularly, your first step might not be the urologist, but your medicine cabinet. And here's the critical takeaway: these 5 drivers aren't random. They're not just because you're getting older. They're the result of daily modifiable behaviors, things you can change. Which raises the next question: what are the most effective evidence-based ways to reverse this process naturally, without drugs or surgery? Let's break those down in the next section. So we've uncovered the 5 hidden forces quietly pushing your prostate to expand. But here's the good news. You're not powerless. Science has revealed 6 practical evidence-based ways to stop and even reverse prostate enlargement. No prescriptions, no surgery, just smarter daily choices. Let's break them down. 1. Balance your natural hormones, the first line of defense. It's not just about having enough testosterone. In fact, having too much or metabolizing it incorrectly is what causes trouble. As we discussed earlier, testosterone converts into DHT via the 5-alpha reductase enzyme. DHT then fuels prostate growth. But when you're under chronic stress, not sleeping well, or self-medicating with steroids or unmonitored testosterone supplements, your hormone balance goes haywire. That creates the perfect storm for aggressive DHT activity right where you don't want it. What to do instead? Prioritize sleep 7-8 hours per night. Especially deep REM sleep helps restore hormonal balance. Manage stress through regular walks, meditation, deep breathing, or just unplugging from digital chaos. Avoid unsupervised testosterone therapy. Unless your levels are clinically low and monitored, boosting T could make your prostate grow faster. Bottom line, you don't need more testosterone, you need better hormone regulation. 2. Shrink your waistline, the most impactful change you can make. That extra weight around your belly isn't just cosmetic, it's metabolically active. Visceral fat fuels chronic inflammation and produces aromatase, the enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. More estrogen, less testosterone, more imbalance. Worse, it also drives up insulin and IGF-1 levels, both of which directly stimulate prostate cell growth. Here's what science says. According to the American Urological Association 2020, losing just 5 to 10% of body weight, especially around the waist, can reduce your BPH risk by nearly 50%. Your target: keep your waist under 40 inches, 100 centimeters. Every inch above that threshold doubles your risk. Action plan: don't crash diet. Just combine a Mediterranean-style eating pattern with light, regular exercise, like brisk walking. It's not about speed, it's about consistency. 3. Adopt a Mediterranean diet, a daily shield for your prostate. You've probably heard of the Mediterranean diet, but here's why it matters for your prostate. This eating pattern is rich in anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and hormone-balancing foods. Think leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cooked tomatoes, fatty fish, olive oil, nuts, and fresh fruit. At the same time, it minimizes red meat, butter, and processed foods, all of which we know contribute to BPH. Why it works: reduces systemic inflammation and oxidative stress, helps lower IGF-1 and insulin levels, supports healthy microbiome balance and hormone metabolism, and it's easy to follow. No calorie counting, no extreme restrictions. Just whole, real food. 4. Boost your lycopene intake, the prostate's favorite antioxidant. Lycopene is a powerful carotenoid antioxidant found in red and pink fruits, and it loves the prostate. It helps neutralize free radicals, downregulate inflammatory cytokines, and slow abnormal tissue growth. But here's the key: lycopene works best when it's cooked. So while fresh tomatoes are good, tomato sauce paste and stews offer a much more concentrated and bioavailable form. Top sources: tomato paste and sauce, watermelon, pink grapefruit, cooked red peppers, guava, backed by data. According to the PCPT trial, men with higher lycopene intake had an 18% lower risk of BPH over long-term follow-up. Pro tip: lycopene is fat-soluble. Pair your tomato dishes with olive oil or avocado to maximize absorption. 5. Train your pelvic floor. Strengthen where it matters. Most men ignore this simple muscle group until it's too late. The pelvic floor supports your bladder, rectum, and prostate and helps control urine flow. As BPH worsens, the surrounding muscles have to work harder to push urine past the enlarged gland. But here's the good news: strengthening these muscles can dramatically improve symptoms like urgency, weak stream, and incomplete emptying. How to do it: Kegels for men. Squeeze the muscles you'd use to stop urination midstream. Hold for 3 to 5 seconds. Relax. Repeat 10-15 times, 2-3 times a day. Light squats and brisk walking. These improve pelvic circulation without stressing the joints. Make it part of your day, do Kegels while brushing your teeth. Driving or waiting in line. Habit makes progress. 6. Cut back on caffeine, alcohol, and tobacco. Small tweaks. Big relief. These habits may seem unrelated, but they directly impact your urinary tract. Caffeine and alcohol stimulate the bladder, increasing urgency and frequency. Nicotine constricts blood vessels, reducing circulation to the pelvic organs, including your prostate. What happens when you reduce them? Better bladder control, fewer nighttime trips to the bathroom, and improved response to all the other lifestyle interventions. You don't have to quit cold turkey, but aim to limit caffeine to 1 to 2 cups a day. Avoid after 3 p.m. Cut alcohol to 1 drink or less per day. Stop smoking, or at least start the process. These changes won't just benefit your prostate, they'll elevate your entire health trajectory. So here's the big idea. Every one of these changes is small, manageable, and rooted in science. And when combined, they don't just slow prostate growth, they put you back in control. Because aging isn't the enemy. Passive aging is. In the final section, I'll walk you through how to bring this all together and why now, not later, is the time to take action. You can't stop aging, but you can stop sleepless nights, weak streams, and that creeping fear of surgery starting today. You've seen the causes, you've seen the solutions, and now it's in your hands. No pills, no waiting for symptoms to get worse. Just a smarter way of living from your next meal, your next walk, your next night of real sleep. If you want a healthier prostate 10 years from now, start now. Let me know, did this video hit home for you? Comment your age or where you're watching from. I'd love to hear your story and connect. And if this message helped you, give it a like and subscribe so you never miss out on real tools to live stronger, longer, one day at a time.